The last time I checked, we didn't need a license to have privacy online. We're getting to a really scary place where governments have normalized pervasive surveillance in our lives and made privacy seem like this strange relic of the past. We jeopardize all freedoms in a society when we eliminate the ability for people to have private online conversations. The best way to conquer bad ideas is with better ideas, not by suppressing ideas.
Durov is now free on bail, but some of the charges brought against him are quite serious. They include failing to curb extremist and illegal content. What more do we know about the case at this stage? And also, why do authorities think that he should be liable for what's shared on his platform?
Well, one of the most striking things that I found in the charges against Durov were that 3 charges basically criminalized privacy. So 3 of the charges focused on him using cryptology tools that were unlicensed. And the last time I checked, we didn't need a license to have privacy online. But maybe France has changed their mind about that recently. It seems that a lot of governments around the world have changed their mind on that. So I think that we're getting to a really scary place where governments have normalized pervasive surveillance in our lives and made privacy seem like this strange relic of the past that's no longer normal. Privacy used to be normal, but now we use shameful language around it. Now we say, what have you got to hide? And now we say that, the government has the right to invade everyone's privacy for national interests and security. But I think that it's the opposite. I think we make people more vulnerable when we collect all of their information. I think that we jeopardize all freedoms in a society when we eliminate the ability for people to have private online conversations. So I think that this is a very scary precedent where governments can arrest companies and founders of companies for basically using privacy tools and enabling free dialogue on their platforms. We don't want to head to a world where we no longer have any private spaces on the internet, because that's a scary world.
I loved what Naomi said at the start in terms of protecting the users, protecting all of us. But I want to bring something back from the start of the internet. It was 1996, ancient times. I know so many of our viewers were not even born. And there was something called the Declaration of Independence of Cyberspace by John Perry Barrow, a declaration that the internet was outside any country's borders and therefore off limits in terms of regulation. The bulk of it read, the governments of the industrial world, you weary giants of flesh and steel, I come from cyberspace, the new home of mind. On behalf of the future, I ask you of the past to leave us alone. You are not welcome among us. You have no sovereignty where we gather. Naomi, this feels incredibly accurate sometimes, but it's not always positive, isn't it? NICAD has been working for the internet to be a healthy and productive environment. We know that is not only that. How do we strike a good balance here in protecting people's private lives, private opinions, but also in protecting other people's feelings and keeping the space civil?
Yeah, it's interesting because I love that declaration, and it really points to that early hope of the internet, where it was seen as this democratizing tool. It could bring the entire world together. It was a place without, rules. We could have freedom of association, and what it's become is something quite different. It's become one of the most oppressive tools of totalitarian silencing and censorship that we've ever seen. And I think the problem comes down to the fact that countries can easily use terms like, hate speech and dangerous content and problematic content to basically silence voices. Now, in the early days, pre-internet, you had government control over media. So it was very easy to shape narratives, to create propaganda, to make sure society was towing the line. But along with the internet came this explosion, this Cambrian explosion of all kinds of different voices. And now the only tool, as we're seeing, is that if governments do not want these voices to be heard, they ban these these platforms. I think it's very telling that countries are banning the platform because people have all kinds of different viewpoints. I don't think that the different viewpoints are the problem. I think that if these viewpoints come out, it's a reflection of underlying issues in the society, and these need to be addressed. And the best way to address them is through open dialogue, not through suppression of speech, because otherwise, when you wield this very blunt tool of censorship, it gives governments power to censor anything that they deem problematic, and it basically is a tool that is used by many governments around the world to further cement control and authoritarian oppression. So I think we have to be very careful excusing censorship when it's under the guise of, oh, it's against our regulations or against our, it incite violence and all of these things, because we've seen time and time again that these excuses are used just as much by authoritarian regimes that do not respect human rights. And so we should be very careful with such excuses.
Naomi, one final thought here, if you will. How do you see this going forward? Do you see the civil society, these users, rising up and claiming more privacy, more freedom, and also holding all these in power accountable?
Well, I really like what's going on with community notes on X. I think that's a great middle ground. Everyone's talking about independent review boards and all these other things, but in those cases, you still have these arbiters of truth. You still have organizations that can be corrupted and coerced and manipulated in certain ways to still want to suppress certain content over others. But when you have community notes, let's have that open discourse. If someone writes a really bad comment, if someone puts up misinformation, then allow the community to respond and say, hey, this is not true. Here are my facts. I think that's been one of the most positive outcomes that I've seen from X in the recent years, because it just gets these conversations going. And instead of suppressing ideas, we can actually call out bad ideas for what they are, and we can provide counterpoints. I think that's the most powerful thing that we can do in the face of all this, hate speech or misinformation and all the things that governments claim to be about. If they really wanted to conquer this, the best way to conquer bad ideas is with better ideas, not by suppressing ideas. So I would love to see more of that and less centrally controlled decision making.
And that is a very good idea. Naomi, thank you so much.